Alright everyone, as a sort of a tack on to the last video about Elizabeth Warren, her presidential ambitions are pretty much over. She lied on her bar certificate about her ethnicity. She did now, we can prove she used her fake Native American heritage to, basically grandstand and gain kudos and get into academics at a better level. She never would have gotten into what school she went to, certainly Ivy League, if she had listed herself as white. It wouldn't have happened because she's not that spectacular at academics. She's not exactly the greatest intellectual in the world. I think she would have had to make do. Now we got to talk about Joe Biden, though, because that is affected directly by what happens, especially to Warren, but basically to anyone who might still get in the race. Like, if you have big news about Bloomberg, it affects Joe Biden. Joe Biden, I've said, I don't like him. I wouldn't vote for him. He is technically not viable simply due to his age. That being said, the lack of other A-list candidates to run against him, and the fact that he is consistently number 1 or 2 in all polling of the Democrats of who they want to be nominating. He consistently gets between 25 and 35% of that vote. A huge share compared to any other candidate. Bigger than Sanders, bigger than Clinton, bigger than anyone that's currently in the race, bigger than like a Booker or a Julian Castro or a Gillibrand or something. Like the next runner-up is Kamala Harris. And I think she's rides at 4 or 5% in most of these polls. She's like a distant 7th or 8th, and Cory Booker, I think, is just behind her. The fact is that Elizabeth Warren, if she gets out officially, if she says, okay, I'm suspending my presidential ambitions I'm going back to the Senate, essentially, which she should do if she's smart, because she can't win. That increases the odds of Biden getting in considerably. That being said, though, the clock is ticking. For Joe Biden, look, again, he's an older dude with high name recognition. He can't afford to wait until there are other people that have high name recognition and viability to get in. He needs to be the first person of that group to do it. So far, he doesn't have a problem. Sanders has not announced. Hillary Clinton is probably sitting it out. She's probably not going to run, according to her former campaign head, John Podesta himself. I think it was on MSNBC. He confirmed that. Oh, she's not thinking of running, really. She's not really, it's sort of a weasel word, because it's like he doesn't say that she's not considering it. He just says, well, I don't think so. She's not, this time she's not planning to get in. That's code for she's probably not planning to get in. I don't think that she's just trying to drum up support. She doesn't really have any. Joe Biden has that name recognition, that fundraising apparatus. He has every possible advantage, at least for the primaries. He could curb stomp these other candidates. But if he doesn't get in early enough, then he becomes an afterthought. He won't have enough time to establish his own sort of campaign mode, fall into pace, and, outpace everyone else. Somebody else will shoot out of the gate, rise to the top, beat on the other candidates, establish themselves, and Biden won't be the one to defeat them, because he won't be in the running. He doesn't even have an exploratory committee, does he? His viability decreases over time. There are certain candidates who, that's not, like for Sanders, I don't think it's the case for Sanders. He's got a staunch group of 10 to 15% of Democrats that would march to hell and back for him. They're not going to stop liking him. Even if they start supporting some other candidate, like they're like, oh, I'm going to shill for Hill, I'm a Kamala fan now because Sanders isn't in. Even if, like months from now, Sanders says, okay, I'll run, they'd immediately switch back to him. I don't think Joe Biden has that kind of deep-seated organic support. I think that a lot of it is just nostalgia for the Obama era. A lot of liberals would support him. They'd be like, look, like the Obama era, he was suave, he was cool, or, whatever. Drones are great. And so I'm going to back the VP, because if he trusts him to be, the next man in line, well, I trust Joe Biden too. It would be really funny, though, if he got in and Obama said, well, no, I'm not going to give him my endorsement. Yeah, sorry, Joe, it's somebody else's turn. You're old and shit. That could, by the way, very well happen. That would sink his ambitions. And it could happen. Somebody else just has to pay Obama enough to get his endorsement instead. That'd be hilarious. Not to give advice to someone I'd never vote for, but if Joe Biden wants to win the primaries in the Democratic side, he should get in now. Don't wait any longer. Just get in. You're the only one with A-grade name recognition, other than Sanders, who is really seriously considered running. Bloomberg, maybe, but I mean, he's an old billionaire. He can't do anything. And he's basically signaled that he's probably going to sit it out. He's going to free up money instead for the DNC. He's going to be the big donor. He's going to liquidate $500 million, give it to the DNC. It'll get filtered out through all of the state sort of Democratic centers, and they'll give him a lot of money. And so he'll make speeches, and he'll be at their meeting. He'll be, you know, when they have a nominee, he'll definitely be in the front row as an esteemed guest. That's what Bloomberg's going to do. Who else do the Democrats fucking have? Obama can't run. You know, much as they would love Michelle Obama again, it's not going to happen. Some other goofball just got in the other day. I can't remember the name, but it's like an afterthought. Nobody cared. And this has happened too. You do have some, like Howard Schultz. If Howard Schultz had gotten in as a Democrat, would he have like more than 2 or 3% of the vote? No. He wants to run as an independent. He's really still putting the screws to the Democrats. A combination of a weak field and shitty primary system, which they have. They have superdelegates and shit like that to get whoever they want and coronate them. A combination of that leading to a weaker candidate, or the likelihood of a much older candidate, someone who is not distinguishable from Trump, age and sort of in some cases even politics-wise, certainly in gender, probably be a white male candidate ultimately. Avenatti alluded to that, and he got crucified, but he's technically right. You combined that with the possibility that Trump, in the wake of Sotu, gets his wall, or, you know, there's any major success in Korea or something like that, the Democrats are screwed right now. And Virginia might flip red because that's melting down for the Democrats. What advantage do they have at this point? Even Joe Biden might not be able to save them beyond the primaries. You know, he wins the primaries, gets coronated and stuff. He's going to be like, what, 75, 76 years old when he's running. He's not going to have the kind of energies. Trump will look like a spring chicken next to Joe Biden. And by the way, Joe Biden doesn't get to say, well, I'm the adult in the room thing, because Trump can dig up the time that Joe Biden said he'd like to punch him in the face, and then he'll stalk around stage sneering at him basically the whole time. His viability is going down the toilet day by day. He needs to get in as quickly as possible. And I want Biden to run because I think it'd be funny. Because what do we know him as? The gaffe master. He was the court jester of the Obama administration. His job, it's the opposite of the Trump-Pence dynamic. Trump makes jokes and says off-the-wall shit, and Pence looks astute and oddly enough, presidential in the more classical sense. Exact opposite. Joe Biden was basically a goofmeister. He was the funny dude that people made memes about, while Obama was more dour and solemn and very grave and lots of pomp and circumstance sort of shit. That was Obama's thing. Joe Biden's also massively old. Again, if he were to win, by the end of his first term, he'd be in his 80s. That's not a great look. You know, people already complained about the fact that Trump would be the oldest president and Clinton wasn't far behind him. She's only like half a year younger or something like that. Like, she's 70 now as well. And Joe Biden's 74, 75 years old, dude. No offense to any viewers who are in their 70s, but it's getting up there now, isn't it? I don't want Joe Biden... Yeah, and then you gotta understand, there's one other thing. When you have a candidate that old, they have to pick their running mate more carefully. Like, with Obama, it didn't matter. He's like, at the time that he ran for the first, time, he's like, what, 42 years old or something. People aren't expecting him to randomly drop dead of a stroke or something. But when you're 75 or 76 and you're become the president, yeah, okay, well, don't Sarah Palin yourself. That was a big thing with John McCain. His lack of a good running mate was indeed part of the reason why he failed. I do believe that. That's about all. Peace out.